Welcome to the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. It is the morning show with Chris and Mo. I am Chris, and that is Mo. How's it going, Mo?
Doing well yourself?
I cannot complain, Mo. We've made it halfway through the week. Just like this point last week, the Yankees are still complete garbage. Haven't won a game in the last 9. So, I don't know how I feel about life. I've never been alive for a 9-game Yankee lose. This is uncharted territory for me.
This is like history.
I'm confused. It is. I'm confused. I want to cry. I'm excited. I don't know I don't know what losing is like. I don't know what it's like to be like a Detroit Lions fan. I don't know. I don't know that feeling when it comes to baseball. I know that feeling when it comes to football. I've been through a 1-15 Dolphins season. I've never been a loser in baseball, Mo. It's different.
So is it maddening?
Support. I need someone. I need like a support group or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's something. It's something. But you know what? I'm gonna power through it, Mo. I'm gonna power through it because I also saw something amazing last night. It is. I saw A'ja Wilson drop 53. Did you see that, Mo?
I didn't see it. Well, I didn't see it live, but I saw the highlights.
That's amazing. Tying the WNBA record. She drops 53. That is absolutely fantastic. Also, while we're talking baseball a little bit, we're going to wrap up our headline. Yankees 9 streak and A'ja dropping her 53. The Chicago White Sox have completely cleaned house, wiping away everyone who's important in that organization. And I wish the Yankees would do that as well, Mo. I wish the Yankees would just clear house and just start the worst we have. That is all I am saying. But let's start off this morning with some and again, when it comes to losing, these guys know what it's like. Those are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady is no longer there this season, but don't worry, Mo, don't worry. QB1 has been named, and it's Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has beaten out Kyle Trask to win the starting quarterback job here for 2023 season. And I think, Mo, I think we knew that was going to happen. I think that if you're beat out Kyle team, over at that point. That really means you should up your career. Nothing against Kyle Trask. Mayfield has been a starting quarterback before. He was the face of the Browns franchise. He had a chance to start in Carolina. I really feel like Baker Mayfield had a big leg up in this competition, and he ends up being QB1. But, Mo, do you think he ends the season as QB1?
That's hard to tell. What I would say is between the two quarterbacks, Baker is the more proven commodity. And while I know a lot of people like to come at him and make jokes, I think Baker's a legit NFL quarterback. Where I rank him, is anybody's guess, because he can be very, very good, or he can be very, very subpar. But he definitely has the talent to lead a team. It's just a matter with him. It's always been about consistency. So if I'm pressed, barring injury, I'm going to say Baker finishes the season as QB1. Because I think that this isn't just a season for him. I think it's also an addition. It's an audition for the Bucs and maybe other teams out there for his services. So I think this is a big year for Baker on a personal level.
Let's look at it from now that we know. Now that it's official, Tampa Bay has QB1. That division is basically set and ready to get the season going in a couple of weeks. Realistically, Mo, what is the ceiling for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I think we're all looking at that division and saying, you know what? It belongs to the Saints. If the Saints, and I've said it. I have said this myself. If the Saints do not win the division, I do think they should fire their head coach. But we've seen crazier things happen in the league. We have seen teams, because let's be honest, the Saints are, compared to that division, sure, they should be a powerhouse. But do I think the Saints are a Super Bowl contender? No, I do not.
No.
I just think that they're head and shoulders above what's in their division. But Mo, are we setting ourselves up for a Tampa Bay or an Atlanta or a Carolina to be better than we thought they were going to be this season and steal the division from New Orleans?
I actually do think it's going to play out that way. I think that New Orleans, we can agree that the Saints, it's their division to lose, but they are also playing with that same pressure, right? Like they're expected to win the division. When I'm looking at Carolina, when I'm looking at Tampa, when I'm looking at the Falcons, I think they're all playing with house money. And I actually think that all three of them, they're going to make that a competitive division. I know it some people call it the worst division in football, but it might be the most interesting and competitive division in football, because I do think the other teams will be better than we expected. And it always starts at the same spot, right? You're going to look at what you get from your starting quarterback. So I do think that while the Saints are favored and expected to win, I actually think it's going to be a lot more competitive top to bottom.
And Mo, let's not forget this division, this entire division, by one game last season. The Buccaneers won the division and then tied for second place or last place, depending if you're a glass half full guy or you're a glass half empty guy. There were the rest of the other teams. All three teams were tied when the season came to an end. So you're right. As far as the competitiveness of this division goes, this might be the most competitive division in the NFL. They may not have the best records in the NFL. In fact, no team in this division might even come close to the top 3 or 4 records in the NFC. But it doesn't mean that as far as where they rank, they're not all fairly close. So I agree with you. I still think it's the Saints division to win. I think that everything has been laid out for them. I'm eyeing to the season, and the more I look at the rosters, I'm kind of like, well, wait a minute. If let's get off to a slow start, it takes longer than we thought, they right there with these other teams. So I'm super intrigued. No, I am super intrigued to see how this division plays out this season.
I am, and I'm excited.
All right, Mo, at this time, we are welcome.
No, go ahead.
No, I just we got a guest, Mo. We got a guest.
Oh,
we got a guest coming to the house. At this time, At this time, we're bringing William onto the show.
Hey,
what's up, Will?
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
All right, ready to be back after a 1-week absence, but I am here.
We are happy to have you. And, Will, we were just talking a little New Orleans Saints football. Do you give the Buccaneers any chance to compete for the division this season?
No. I think Baker Mayfield is a train wreck at the end of the day. I don't think that offensive line is going to be that great. I feel sorry for White back there because it's not the best offensive line at all. And decent defense, decent secondary, but I just don't think they'll be able to put enough points on the board to be competitive.
Well, who's your team, by the way, my guy?
Oh, y'all already know. I'm a Saints fan. Y'all already know. I think it's going to be, but I will say this. I'm respecting what the Carolina Panthers doing. They're doing, and I've said this before on this show, they're doing things the way you should be doing. They're building their team right. They're building it correctly. And I think that's going to be the team in the division that gives us the most trouble because they're built so well and so solid. You know, like you thought they have a rookie quarterback. I think they're still going to be good. I think it'll be very good. I think there'll be a game behind us. I think we're going to win the division, 10, 11 wins. They'll be right behind us because they're solidly built. So it's going to be a knockout drag out between those two. I'm not worried about the Falcons because I'm not a Desmond Ridder guy at all. Not worried about the Falcons. I think you're going to see Bijan Robinson getting all this hype in fantasy. I think you're going to see a lot of loaded 8-man fronts. It's going to force Ridder to throw the football, and I don't think he'll be able to do it. And like I say, Tampa Bay is going to be a train wreck. So I think it's between the Saints and the Panthers.
If the Saints don't win the division, do you need a new head coach?
Yes. And even if we do win the division, I'll still say it. I'm not a Dennis Allen guy. to be a coach, you have to be a leader among men. And he's not a leader at all. He's a coordinator. If you put him back in the role of coordinator, I have no problem with it. But you have to be a leader of men when you're a head coach. And then Allen, if you look at his career, he's never been that. Great coordinator, yes. But a leader of men, no.
Gentlemen, we received a little bit of insight in the world of the Kansas City Chiefs as far as their star defensive player goes, which is Chris Jones. He's holding out right now. He's not happy with his contract situation, which, let's be honest, take out his name, put in about 15 other names that we've seen in the NFL this offseason, and it seems to pretty much be a similar story. The only difference is he appears to be ready to actually hold out. He was on Twitter, or X, or whatever we're calling it these days, and he has said that he has no issue holding out until the 8th week of the NFL season. Now, again, you talk, you do what you got to do. But if you look at the other people who hold out, no one has inclined to believe that he might actually hold out until week 8. That being said, Mo, if you look at Kansas City, they don't have many flaws, but you could argue that their front seven is a little bit weaker this season. You could argue that because of what happened during the offseason, their defense in the secondary and spots is a little questionable. If they lose him for the first 8 weeks of the season, or let's just say he doesn't play at all, because come week 7 or 8, things get even worse for some reason, and Kansas City decides they're not going to pay him right now, or they're going to wait until whenever. If he misses a substantial amount of time in Kansas City, what is it going to translate to on the field for them? Because thus far, Mo, Mahomes has overcome everything.
He has.
But he's overcome everything on the offensive side of the ball. Is it different when you lose your star on the defensive side of the ball?
It is different, but what I would say is I think Mahomes, you saw it in the Super Bowl. He took a page from Brady. He knew that he couldn't get into a shootout with the weapons that he had. So what did he do? He started throwing short routes. He was using his legs, even though he was injured, and he was bleeding the clock out while moving the football. So I think that, like Brady, because they don't want to get in shootouts, I think Mahomes is going to manage the clock and control the game that way. He's going to help his defense by keeping them off the field. So I don't expect there to be a lot of 3-and-outs with Kansas City. There will be some explosive plays, but I think he really is going to bleed the clock out and put pressure on the defense, because he's going to win first down and second down, and they're going to be in third and short often. That's what I believe Mahomes will do to help his defense. You're right. Their defense has changed. They've lost some pieces, and they're relying on some new faces and some younger faces, and you don't know what you're going to get from those new players. You do know what you'll get from Chris Jones, right? Everybody knows that. He's one of the best pass rushers in football. He's an elite playmaker, has a huge impact on the game. They've got to get him in there. They've got to get him in there ASAP. The idea that he's good to sit out for like 8 weeks, that's crazy, because I do think that will impact the game. As great as Mahomes is, look, I think their record will be fine, but you're putting a lot, even more on him, because now you're asking him, if they go up against an elite offense that throws up 28, 35 points, you're asking Mahomes, who's very capable of doing that, to get into a shootout. We know what you can get from him. We know what you can get from Kelsey. They've got some young receivers. They've got some guys that are veteran receivers that are like second and third. I would call them not top level receivers, but I don't know what you're going to get overall when I look at that offense, because I do think even Patrick Mahomes, with all his magic, with all his ability, he at some point he needs other guys other than Kelsey to step up and make plays. It's kind of the reason why when you mentioned the other day, I thought, why not Jonathan Taylor to the Kansas City Chiefs? Why not bring in an elite running back who can change the formula, who can balance your offense out and take some pressure off of your franchise quarterback?
Now, Will, let's say they jump off to a 6-2, 7-1 start, which is completely possible given who they are and who they play. Does that hurt him in his holdout? Because if they're 6-2 or 7-1 and things are just humming in Kansas City, is it more likely the franchise is like, listen, we want you, but we're doing great without you? Why? What leverage does he really have here if it's not impacting wins and losses?
I don't think that will be the case because of the fact if you look at their schedule always has a challenge somewhere in between there. If you go back and look at their schedule, so I think they do need him. That's a completely different defense, and your offense will have to be worked around that. And Mo was saying Patrick Mahomes will have to keep them off the field. I think Andy Reid would do more of run Pacheco more, use Jared McKinnon more. And as far as the passing game goes, short intermediate routes to Kelsey. Kadarius Toney got to put up some work now. You got to put up some work because that offense is going to have to make up for like a defense until he comes back. And if you look at his stats from last year, I don't know why they have a problem signing that man. I don't get it. If you want to look at, he's not Aaron Donald, but those numbers are Aaron Donald like. So I don't understand why they have a problem, in signing him. Well, he's proven time after time after time again, he's a proven talent. I don't understand that.
And look, the thing about somebody like Jones is maybe the value doesn't kick in as much throughout the regular season, but he's big. Yep. His impact is even bigger in the postseason. And don't need a guy like that to be able to turn the corner and make a play that either turns the tide or impacts the game with the turnover. That's where his true value is in the postseason because he can make a play where there's not a play to be made.
And don't forget that division is going to be a little bit harder. The whole conference as a whole is going to be a little bit harder. So eventually they're going to need him. They got to, if memory serves, they have a rematch with the Eagles coming up this season. That's later on down the line, but they do have a rematch with the Eagles. You're going to need him. So I don't understand why they won't sign. Get that man what he wants.
Give him what he wants. They're treating him like a running back.
If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm checking the Google this morning, and I'm like, oh, I'm still the 8th highest paid quarterback. They didn't raise my salary. I'm still taking money away from myself for the team. What are we using the money for? Why are we not going out and signing my equal on the defensive side? Because if you look at all the defensive players, he would be the closest on that side of the ball to what Patrick Mahomes is to the offense. Yep. And if Patrick is taking a cut, and I'm not saying he's the guy to walk around and be like, hey, but if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm at least thinking, hey, I'm giving back money. I'm not taking all the money so we can keep this squad together. And you're going to let him hold out for 8 weeks? Come on now.
And I'm one of the few people. Andy Reid can overcome almost anything. But I think later on down the year, that's really going to hurt. Plus, I'm starting to question this receiving core because if Toney continues to stay hurt, Sky Moore hasn't necessarily moved himself ahead of the pack. You've already lost Juju to New England. So I'm starting to question that receiving core.
They really need a productive season from Sky Moore. He's got to step up. He's got to be a bigger part of the offense. If he doesn't give them anything this year, I don't think he'll be on the roster next year.
I don't think he will either. Because at some point you have to contribute in terms of touchdowns, not just a play here and there to move the chains. You have to contribute with touchdowns, and he hadn't really done it yet.
And guys, winning covers up everything, right? Winning in the NFL, winning is the end all be all to any questions or criticisms for the most part. But you have to look at it and you have to ask yourself, if this team wasn't consistently going to AFC title games, if this team wasn't winning Super Bowls and they were just getting into the playoffs, would you look at it and say, well, wait a minute, why aren't they putting weapons around Mahomes? Well, wait a minute. Why does Andy Reid think he can? Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
Real quick, too. I'm sorry to interrupt. I do want to answer that question in chat. Would I give a big contract to a 29-year-old defensive player? That 29-year-old defensive player has more impact on his side of the ball than anybody else on that team. So, yes. If he was a Hammer Egger, if his stats didn't say otherwise the previous season or previous seasons, I got you.
And he's a 29-year-old defensive end. And he's a 29-year-old defensive end, not a 29-year-old running back.
Yep. Difference.
And like I was saying, gentlemen, is there a point where we start having that conversation, kind of the Kyle Shanahan conversation? Kyle Shanahan thinks that he can win with any quarterback, that he can make any quarterback into gold. Are we getting into a situation where Andy Reid thinks that he can put anyone he wants to around Mahomes, and Mahomes is just going to make it work because he's that great. And he's proven so far he can. He's proven so far that he is. But Will, like you said, there's a point where you need to give the man talent around him. And we saw this happen with Brady. And same situation. Brady gave money back to the Patriots, and they were rarely ever able to put a talent around him on offense. He had people here and there. I'm not saying he worked with scrubs. But at the end of the day, for what he was given back, for the expectations of that team, he never consistently had that guy. And I know that Kelce is there, but Kelce is a tight end, and as great as he is still a tight end. You had Tyreek there. You let him go. It is what it is. I understand it. But at the same time, what have you done? And I don't know. And like I said, if they keep winning, we're not going to hammer this question home. But you have to wonder, are they playing with fire? And there's going to come a point where they can't keep doing these things.
And
I think that Kyle Shanahan.
All right, gentlemen, let's jump over to.
No, it might be as early as this season.
Mo, finish us off.
I was just going to say that I do think that Andy Reid has a little bit of the Kyle Shanahan bug, right? And it's a history of that. Even when he was with the Eagles, they didn't really surround McNabb with a ton of talent. They had McNabb and Brian Westbrook, and for the longest time, they just had fill-in wide receivers until they finally went out and got T.O. Remember, they went to 3 conference championships with a bunch of number 3s at best at wide receiver. So at some point, your coach, your play caller can be a little bit arrogant. And I think even more so when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, right? You get to the point where you figure out Pat will make it work. No matter what, whoever I put out there, Pat will make plays for them. He will make them better than what they are, which I do believe to a degree. But at some point, you do need playmakers to make life easier for him as well.
All they take is
unfortunately, I think that's right. That's right. It's going to take an injury. It's going to take them not winning the division. I'm not saying this will be the year, but to Will's point, it could be, because who knows? We just assume that Mahomes is going to go out and put up the same numbers that he's done his first 4 or 5 years in the league with the crew he has. Well, what if there is an injury? What if Moore can't go to the next level? What if he doesn't have, I forget the name of the rookie that's looked in Kansas City training camp this offseason, but what if he doesn't look as good in the regular season? There's a lot of what ifs that we weren't talking about a couple years ago when Tyreek and Kelce were on 1A. So now when you don't have that, you just assume everything's going to work out, but we don't know. So interesting conversation around that division this morning, gentlemen. But let's pivot a little bit to the NBA. And the James Harden saga continues. So the NBA came out yesterday and said that, I know, they said we are fining James Harden $100,000 after our investigation into his comments in China, in which he called Morey a liar. Shortly after that, the Players Association came out and said, hang on a minute. If you're going to do that, we are going to contest that because we don't think you should be fining him anything. Well, if Morey lied to him, and I get it, I get what the rule is. The rule that the NBA is basing this off of is this idea that a player cannot go to the media and go to the public and say things to put them in a situation to force a trade or demand a trade. And what the league is saying is that by making the comments he's making, he's backdooring that. He's not directly coming out and saying, you need to trade me. He did come out and say, I will never play for an organization where that man's involved in it. So they're saying that based on that, you're basically backdoor saying, trade me. I get where the league is coming from. But at the same time, aren't you setting a precedent where if the front office, and let's assume that James Harden's story is completely true. Morey said, hey, sign your offer. We'll get you out of here quickly. But the step 1 is you signing. Step 2 is us getting you out of here. We'll make it happen quick. If that conversation took place, and then for whatever reason it didn't happen, doesn't Harden have a right to, 1, be a little ticked off, and 2, simply voice his belief that he was lied to by the team that he's playing for?
He has a right to be upset. He has a right to voice his grievances. Whether I would have took it public, I don't know, because optics can hurt you. And you already got a checkered past with everywhere else you've been. So I don't know if I would have made all this public. I mean, you wanted out of Houston, you got out of Houston. You wanted out of Brooklyn, you got out of Brooklyn. Now you're trying to get out of this place and end up God knows where. Optics hurt. And and if I was him, in my opinion, I would have kept the whole thing as private as possible. But yeah, you're right. He does have a right to be hurt. He does have a right to be upset and to voice his grievance. I just wouldn't have taken it publicly.
Now, Mo, do you think, and again, I'm putting a lot on Harden's plate here as far as the big picture goes, but do you think he's seeing this as an opportunity to make him not the bad guy? Because when you look at the other situations where he forced himself out of organizations, it's hard not to look at it like you didn't want to be there and you forced your way out. But in this situation, he's almost saying, listen, guys, he told me they would trade me. He literally said, sign the offer, we'll get you out of here. And now he's not living up to his word.
No, I'm with you, Chris. Look, here's the thing about Harden, though. Look how you left Houston. Look how you left Brooklyn. You wanted to go to Philly. Now things haven't panned out as well as you'd like, and now you want to leave Philly. You made that public as well, too. I'm not sure there's a way that James Harden can look like the good guy. I would actually make the case that in this situation, they're just two bad guys. Their relationship spans back to Houston. Morey wanted him in Philly. There's no way anybody with common sense knows this. There's no way James Harden opts into that contract unless he had a conversation with Daryl Morey where he reassured him, one, I'm going to get you the extension, or two, I'm going to move you to a preferred destination. That's the only way he opts in. So the league can feel how they feel, but he's not wrong. Daryl Morey lied to him. So why not say he lied to him? I don't know if he's backdooring the whole thing about asking for a trade, but what he's speaking to is we had an agreement. We had a conversation, and you said you would take care of me, and now you've reneged on that, and I'm upset. And if you're upset, I do agree with William, though. If you're upset and you're any other player, maybe you make it public. But with James Harden's resume of quitting, not just in the playoffs, but on teams, I don't think he should have made it public. He should have kept it in-house. Start up arguments, debates, whatever you want in the locker room, in the front office, but he should have kept that in-house, because right now, the thing on James Harden, the knock on him right now, Chris, is he's not just a quitter on the court, he's just a quitter in general. And I think that's a bad rap. You want to say that he's come up short in postseason, I'm with you. But I don't think he's a quitter. I just think that him and Daryl Morey had a relationship, and like a lot of long-standing relationships, they had a bad breakup. And right now, they're still going through that breakup. Daryl Morey doesn't look good, and James Harden doesn't look good. I really think that they're just two guys that, you know what? I think the city of Philadelphia in general, Chris and Will, I think they're sick of Morey and James Harden.
I also want to go back to the chat for a second. First of all, Steven Chambers, hold up, man. Hold up. Now, you up here telling some trade him to the Lakers. A, how? B,
why?
Why are we turning this into a Lakers conversation? Why? Why are we turning this a Lakers conversation?
Why would the Lakers want him?
Why would they want him? You're good where you are. You had the best trade season ever. So why would you even mess up your team chemistry like that? And
we're going to take the ball out of LeBron's hand.
Right.
We're going to put in James Harden's
hands. Right.
I don't think so.
And number two, my girl Jura come through once again. I agree with her that all this stuff, all this Harden talk is going to eventually overshadow his play. And with the way he played in the playoff stuff last two games, Harden need to sit down and shut up. You played terrible those two games. You had two good games and two worst games in that series. Sit down, shut up, refocus, and play. That's what you need to do.
And gentlemen, the Chicago Bulls came out yesterday, and
Lord, we're talking about my Bulls. Oh Lord. We're talking about my Bulls. Oh Lord.
The Chicago Bulls came out yesterday, and they stated that they want to keep DeMar DeRozan, and they see him as part of their future long-term plan. And I know right away on the surface, you look at this, Will, and you're like, well, first of all, no organization is going to come out and be like, no, we don't really want him here. We're kind of stuck with him right now. You know, if we can, they're not going to say that. But, Will, looking at whatever you think the long-term plan is for Chicago, do you see a reasonable long-term plan that involves DeMar DeRozan in Chicago?
The problem with that is his age. If you go back and look at how old he is, he's not going to be around long enough to see any ending plan. Great player. I'm not going to say and knock him. I love him. A great mid-range player. But that team needs a whole hell of a lot. And that team needs some size. I understand JaVale McGee's a free agent. Maybe they go get him. But man, I'm still mad about your boy. Zoe not being there. Hopefully he can come back. He put out a video the other day, just telling Stephen A. Smith to go to hell and I'm gonna be back. So hopefully he can come back and play well because this team needs a point guard bad. They had a chance to get one in the draft. They didn't do it. They had a chance to bring Derrick Rose back when he got released for some damn reason. They didn't do it. I don't understand that. But this team needs a lot. And I just look at DeRozan and his age, man, what y'all give him 2, maybe 3 more seasons at a high level? And that'll be about it. Most long-term plans take 5, 6 seasons. So,
Right.
I just don't think his career outlives to see what those ending plans are.
And Mo, do you think DeRozan finishes his career in Chicago, or do we see him moving?
He's moving. They know he's moving, but they're saying all the right things, right? He's part of our long-term plans until we trade him, and they're going to trade him. And I don't want to hurt Will's feelings, but they're not going to be very good this year.
No, I agree. I could completely agree. Concur completely.
And there'll be no reason to keep him. DeMar DeRozan is a talented player. I think he's a 6 or 7-time All-Star. Terrific mid-range game. Could get to the basket.
Yep.
His superpower is his ability to get to the free throw line. Gets to the line like 8 or 9 times per game. He would be an asset to any title contending team in a different role. There's no benefit to keeping DeMar DeRozan at age 33. He's either 33 or 34. How is he part of your future? That doesn't make any sense. And look, I believe Vucevic is on the other side of 32. Right. So what are your plans? Because I'm looking at Chicago and you've got good players, but none of the three, not Vucevic, not LaVine, not DeRozan, none of them are franchise players.
Nope.
They're very good players. They're the kind of players that play beside the franchise player, and you don't have that. Honestly,
let me interrupt you. Or as a cohesive team that can get it done. I think if you had a good point guard there, somebody can lead the offense. I'll throw Mike Conley in there, for example. Mike Conley can run that offense, get them where they need to be, get them into their spots, and keep them competitive. They all would gel. I think those players, while they're not legendary players individually, I think as a team, they could get it done with the right build. And right now, the Bulls have no idea how to build. And this team has been straddled with a bad front office ever since Garpax. So you get rid of Garpax, look where you are now. You're not contending. You're not contending at all. So it's frustrating for Bulls fans because you look at every team has a plan. Look at the Lakers, they got a plan. Even Boston has a plan. But if you look at what the Bulls have, they don't have a plan. They don't have a roadmap right now to be a contending team.
They're in NBA purgatory, actually.
Exactly. And that's so frustrating to Bulls fans as well as season ticket holders too.
They're not bad enough to get a lottery pick. They're not going to be bad enough to get a lottery pick. But they're just good enough to probably just make the play-in or miss the play-in.
And remember, I don't know if you remember, Mo. I don't know if you remember. That was the same reason why they got rid of Jimmy Butler, because they were going to be a contending team but never get over the hump. So they tried to trade Jimmy Butler to get better with those picks from Minnesota, and that's how I ended up with LaVine. So, I don't understand that logic.
That's a good lesson for front offices.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can bring in a more talented player, but it doesn't mean the more talented player is the better player.
No.
Zach LaVine is more talented than Jimmy Butler. He's nowhere near the player that Jimmy Butler is, or the leader that Jimmy Butler is. So talent doesn't trump a lot of other things. And so I look at the Bulls, and to me, why not move LaVine? Why not move DeRozan? Why not try to get rid of Vooch? Your
boy Anthony Price said in the chat, Bulls should do a fire sale and rebuild. I
100%
completely agree. Completely 100%. Agree. There's nothing there, and I've never been a Billy Donovan fan, even when he was in college.
Here's the thing, gentlemen. You said the Bulls the Bulls are in purgatory. And what does purgatory do? It gives you hope because you know you're too far away for the lottery picks, but you also look at it and again, you got those glass half full people. They look at it and they're like, man, we're a borderline. If we could just get up one level, now we're past the play-in and now we're a playoff team. And as a logical person, you two can sit here and look at this and be like, no, they're not one level away. The best they are is a play-in team. But when you're in the front office, they struggle. They struggle to see the other side of it.
And that's where front offices are important. That's when, and they haven't been winning for a minute, but that's why you look at the San Antonio Spurs. Perfect example of what a front office should be. Have a plan for your team so you can compete down in the future. That's probably the best front office in basketball. One of the best front offices in basketball. And I'm not a glass half full fan. I'm a realist, and I know we suck. And I don't think a playoff appearance, will be enough to really quench Bulls fans. And like I said before, I've never been a Billy Donovan fan. I don't understand why we hired him. I don't get it. So, they're doing themselves a disservice. Press the restart button, start over.
I'm with you.
Gentlemen,
with you, Will.
Cleveland Guardians pitcher Triston McKenzie, young talented player in Major League Baseball. He was on Mookie Betts' podcast this past week or earlier this week. And the reason I bring this up is because this was a wild interview. If you didn't see it and you're listening right now, after the morning show is over, go watch this interview. But during the interview, Mookie was talking to Triston about the fact that he names his most valuable possessions. And here's what I mean by that. His car has a name. It's Stella. The chain that he wears around his neck, number 24, it's Jackie. His watch is named Artemis. His bag that he travels with is named Griselda. The glove that he used in college when he was an All-American is named Ace. The glove he used last year as a Guardian, it was red. He named it Ruby. He said that if an item means a lot to me and I use it every day or almost every day, I'm going to name it. And as I'm sitting here watching this interview, guys, I said to myself, I gotta talk about it on the morning show because I've heard people naming their cars. All right. I've heard of people naming not so nice cars a name. I totally normal. It is what it is. I have never heard of an athlete or anyone naming watches and phones and am I missing the boat here?
I think you're missing the boat. I think you're missing the boat.
I'm missing the boat. Willie, you name your stuff? What do you name?
Because my mic is named Monique and my Rodecaster Pro 2 is named Unique. So don't you sit here and tell me that ain't right. You missing the boat. Monique and Unique. There you go. Don't sit here and tell me you missing the boat.
I feel like you need more friends. I just think you need more real life friends.
But I get it because
I'm not gonna lie.
But I get it because
as he's going through the list, at first it was all women's names. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, he's just naming his stuff like attractive women names. Then he throws in Artemis, and I'm like, well, now I'm really missing the boat, Will, because I don't know what's going on now.
I need to get out more. but I get it because these are things that you use, be it a hobby, be it a job. This is stuff that you use every day, and it's equipment that you're passionate about. So I get it. I don't put the man down for that. I get it. It's if you have a passion about something.
You get it, but I also don't hear you saying you're going to start naming your stuff.
But if you have a passion about something and it's something that you use on an everyday basis, every day. I'm not talking about every now and again. I'm talking about something that you use every day. This is a Shure SM7B. This is a classic microphone. This is a classic production microphone. Hell yeah, I'm gonna name it. This thing has been on desk all around the country by several different people, celebrities too. Rodecaster Pro, great piece of equipment to connect it to. Use it every day. Of course, I'm gonna name it. So I get it because it's everyday stuff that you're going to attach to and you use every day. Now, my issue would be if it's something that you don't use hardly at all. If you don't use your laptop at all, or whatever the case may be, if you start going around naming stuff you never use, then I got you. But if it's something that you use every day and that you're passionate about, I get it.
I feel like if you name a lot of objects that you use, it sounds to me like the beginning of a men's club. That's what it sounds like, a beginning of a men's club. Maybe you guys can share like lonely man dinner recipes and stuff like that. But
Oh man.
I just look. I play my PS5 whenever I get a chance. I mean, it's pretty hectic at my house, but when I have an opportunity, I play it as often as I can. But it's still just PS5. We don't have we're not tight. I don't dap it up. We don't hang out. We don't have coffee or nothing like that. Like we're not boys. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not down like that. Like I use my laptop to be able to come on, do the show with you and Chris, but me and laptop don't run. You know, after the show's over with, me and laptop, we're not together anymore. It's over.
But look at Sajin though. Sajin says, then again, I have names for all 7 of my guitars. There you go. He gets
7 guitars. Wow.
He gets it. No, I don't name my phone. But okay, that's something I'm looking to upgrade at some point. But yeah, I can get where you're coming from with that. If it's something that you're passionate about and you use on an everyday basis, I get it.
All right, guys. Jerry Jones, once again, I feel like every day Jerry makes some sort of headline, and it's just up to us whether or not we're going to talk about it. And this morning, I chose to talk about it. So buckle up. Here we go. As you guys know, Jonathan Taylor was given permission to seek a trade. We know that the base compensation that the Indianapolis Colts want is a first-round draft pick. So, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, being America's team, quote unquote, they're going to come up in that discussion. And you know, as the media knows, if you ask Jerry about something, he's going to give you his opinion. So, of course, yesterday, Jerry Jones was asked, are the Cowboys interested in trading for Jonathan Taylor? What do you think the current situation with your running back room is? Are you content with it? Are you looking to upgrade? And Jerry, being Jerry, gave one of the greatest Jerry answers of all time. He opened up by saying, I am really happy with what we have in our running back room. He talked about how great of an offseason they've had, how great of a preseason they have, and how they are completely comfortable with that group going into the season, which, by the way, starts in 2 weeks. And I heard it, and I was like, great, Jerry. Wait to own what you got. You're paying people out the butt in Dallas. People aren't happy with their contracts. No need to cause any confusion. But then he wraps up the quote by saying, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility that we could look into trading for him. Jerry, you literally just said that your backs have had a good offseason, a good preseason, and you are comfortable with what you have at the start of the season, but you just couldn't shut the door. You just couldn't close the door and say, we're not looking into trade. Even if you explore it, even if you just make the phone call to say, hey, what would the cost be? Just so you know, because I'm a curious guy. If I ran an NFL team, I would ask the cost of everything that was a good player, just because I'm curious. What are you asking for? Just in case you say something that tickles my fancy. But you don't got to say on the radio that you're going to do that. Just do that privately.
Right.
Now you talk out both sides of your mouth, literally in the same 30-second soundbite. And now you got Pollard, who you just paid $10 million or whatever he got paid. You got the stud running back, who everyone's talking about, Deuce Vaughn. And now what? Now is Taylor coming? Is he not happy? What, Mo? What is Jerry doing?
Jerry's being Jerry. He's found some way to disrupt his running back room. Look, let's assume that the Cowboys don't trade for Jonathan Taylor, and I don't think they will. But he just couldn't control himself. Like you said, he started off so well. We've had a great preseason. Pollard's coming back. Look at Deuce Vaughn. Everybody thinks Deuce Vaughn might be the surprise player of the preseason and going into the season. And then Jerry had to kill it with, but we wouldn't rule out, trading for him. Unnecessary. The problem with Jerry is he likes to talk. He doesn't know when to stop.
I get doing your due diligence on a player. Oh, to yourself to do that. I get it. But at the same point, you're in a situation where you don't have to. Deuce Vaughn has had good preseason, a lot of hype around him. And if Taylor goes anywhere, I think it's going to be either to the Dolphins or the Bills. If he goes anywhere, Dallas doesn't need him. Dallas does not need him, but the Buffalo Bills do, because I don't like anybody in that running back room. Cooks is all right. Damien Harris is okay, but they're not guys who I think can be top-notch guys. They're guys who can get you through. But I think Jonathan Taylor would be the guy who can take some heat, some pressure off Josh Allen, and he won't be running the ball so much. Because if you look at Josh Allen's basically your whole offense for Buffalo. And I've said in the past, they really need to get away from that. Let him be more of a pocket passer, make things happen with his feet when he has to. But they need to really get better at getting that running game down. I think Jonathan Taylor would do that.
He would, but if you bring in Jonathan Taylor, Chris knows this, you're just angering Stephon Diggs more, right? Just another reason for him to complain, because with the Jonathan Taylor, he will definitely get less opportunities.
Let me ask you this. Who's the worst malcontent? Stephon Diggs or James Harden? Who the worst malcontent?
At this point, it's got to be Harden.
It's got to be Harden for his resume.
Yeah.
But if Diggs forces himself out of Buffalo and gets himself to a third team, I think it's a fair conversation at that point.
I mean, it's a damn shame. You was in a good situation in Minnesota.
Don't
make no sense.
He was, and now he's in a better situation in Buffalo, and he wants all the balls to go to him. It's either you run the ball or you throw to me, and that's where we're gonna live, because that's what more can Buffalo do besides that?
Right.
They're already throwing to you twice they are anyone else on the team.
Yep.
So, and you're right, Mo. If Jonathan Taylor comes in, that guy catches 50, 60, 70 balls a season. No running back on that team currently does that. So those are all looks that is not going to Stephon. So he's going to be angry about that. And circling back to the Dallas Cowboys, I don't even know if you're Jerry Jones, you have to know in your dark, quiet place, similar to Aaron Rodgers, darkness retreat. Whenever Jerry goes into his little zombie chamber where he, pumps himself full of blood of whatever he does to try to stay young, you have to realize your season rests on Dak. It doesn't matter what you got quality in the running back area right now. Jonathan Taylor isn't going to change anything. So for him to even float the idea that they might need Jonathan Taylor or they're looking into Jerry, just stop it. You know where this team's success lies or where it's going to fall.
Didn't they just bring in Brandon Cooks?
So they did.
Why are you even entertaining Taylor? I mean, the person you gave all the money to is Dak. So and you're right. The offense is going to center around him and how effective he can be.
You got a good O-line.
Yep,
you have very good running backs. You have talent in your receiving core.
Yep.
They don't need Jonathan Taylor. He would not, we can agree he is a great running back, but I don't think he would change Dallas dramatically, because if you look at what Pollard can do when he's 100% and what Vaughn potentially could do, look, combined, they're probably can give you the production of a Jonathan Taylor, maybe more.
I agree.
And Mike McCarthy has already come out this preseason twice, at least I've noticed, and said that they're putting more on Dak's plate and they want Dak to be more of a playmaker. And none of that in my mind says Dak's going to turn around and hand the ball off to whoever's behind him. So I think while the running game is still, and maybe that will change, maybe if Deuce Vaughn continues the heater that he's on into the regular season, it will force McCarthy's hand and they'll become a run-first team like I think they should be. But it seems that McCarthy is going into this season thinking that Dak is going to elevate to a level Dak has never really been at before, ever, because his two best seasons, they were a run-first team. So apparently McCarthy's going to make Dak into something he's never been before in a pass-first offense. So we'll see what happens. But gentlemen, while we're
going to get fired, he's getting fired.
He's going to get fired.
I think McCarthy being in charge of the whole show is going to be Dallas's downfall. And all these fans, all the Dallas fans, we going to the Super Bowl. Nah. But your coach is going to be your biggest downfall. I think he's taking on way too much, and to put all that out on Dak, I think is a mistake.
Gentlemen, we're going to wrap up the show today talking about Maurice Jones-Drew's running back list. On NFL.com, for past couple of seasons, he's been putting together this list, and I guess people look forward to this. I had to go back and look at his past couple of lists to kind of see how he has done historically with his lists. Last year's list was a little rough, not going to lie. But hey, I get things wrong. We all get things wrong. Let's take a look at what MJD has for the 2023 season. We're going to go backwards and make our way up towards the top. He starts off number 32 with James Conner, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Let's be honest, there's not much happening in Arizona this season. I think that James Conner probably isn't the worst running back in the league, but at the same time, when you're on Arizona, life happens to you. 31, he has James Cook for the Buffalo Bills.
Why is he on the list
30
at all?
is
Why is James Cook on the list at all? I don't get it.
30 is Miles Sanders for the now Carolina Panthers. Let's start there. Will, do you think we saw what Miles Sanders did last year with Philly, but obviously going to Carolina, we've seen how bad that O-line is in the preseason. Do you think Miles Sanders should be this low on the list so far?
I don't think he should be this low, but not too much higher than where he is. The fumbles kill me. I know it was only 2, but last season. But if you look at his career, the fumbles kill me. He can do everything though, so I think he should be ranked a little bit higher than what he is. He could catch the football. He can run the football. I think he should be a little bit higher, but not much more. He should be above some of these guys like Khalil Herbert, Cam Akers, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, who only had one or two rushing touchdowns last year. He should be higher than some of those guys. But yeah, I'll take him. If you want to take him and Rashad White's at 24. I'll move Sanders up to 24 just out of respect for him doing it a lot longer than those guys ahead of him. But where I stop is Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. So yeah, I have him behind Aaron Jones.
And to your point, 29 is Herbert, 28 is Cam Akers. I don't know why Cam Akers is that high. 27 is Pacheco. I mean, he had a nice, he filled his role nicely for Kansas City.
He did.
I don't know why he's there. Brian Robertson's 26, Raheem Mostert is 25, Rashad White is 24, Aaron Jones is 23. We have Gibbs at 22. Robinson
Gibbs there. He's a rookie.
Yep. Well, Robinson's at 21. So you got rookies back to back at 22 and 21.
Basically rookies.
And then you get to Alexander Madison at 20. And then we got Joe Mixon at 19. Mo, Joe Mixon at 19?
So the Bengals throw more than they pass. We know this, right? I mean, than they run. They're a pass-happy offense. And their O-line isn't really great at run blocking. They're just not. Now, for a talent, it's kind of like the Miles Sanders situation. I normally would have ranked him higher, but when you look at Carolina's offensive line, I don't think he's going to shine this season. Like, if Miles Sanders rushed for 1,000 yards, the first thing I'm going to look at is his yards per carry, because I guarantee you they're going to be under 4 yards per carry. So when I look at Joe Mixon's a good running back, but they don't feature him in that offense, and they're not really a run-first team. I think he's ranked low for his talent, but for the production you're going to get, I think he's ranked where he should be.
I don't get why Alexander Madison is where he is. I don't think he's a number one. I think when you look at him, when he had time in for Dalvin Cook, being injured, I didn't see anything that made him to be a number one running back to me. He was someone who's serviceable, who can definitely take reps in a backup role. I don't see Madison as a number one guy, so I don't understand why he's ranked at 20.
And well, I appreciate that, because I've been saying this for months now. I thought it was disrespectful of the Minnesota Vikings to basically say they had 2 even running backs.
Yeah.
And Cook and Madison, and they were just going to go with the cheaper option, because I don't see 2 equal running backs. I see a great running back with a couple good years left, and I see a backup running back. But apparently they're the same in Minnesota.
And even if you see, when you look at Madison run, I don't see that burst. I don't see that burst to get to get past the first wave of that defensive line. I don't see a burst there with him. So I don't understand why he's at 20. I really don't get it. This list is something.
So just outside the top 15 at 18, we have DeAndre Swift. 17, Kenneth Walker. 16 is Travis Etienne, and then 15 is Stevenson from New England. Will, do you like all those guys hovering outside the top 15, or in Stevenson's case at 15, or do you feel any of them should be in the top 15?
I like Travis a step above Stevenson. I like Travis a lot. I like Jacksonville a lot. The offense is going to be something. With Trevor Lawrence doing this thing, got Calvin Ridley there. I think that offense is going to be explosive and it's going to open up for Travis a lot. So I like Travis a step above Stevenson.
And Mo, just inside the top 15, we got two backs coming back from injury. 14 is Breece Hall. 13 is Javonte Williams from Denver. Too high, too low?
That's tough because you're coming off of injury, and I don't know. I really don't know the way they're set up. Don't forget, with Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook's there now. So now you're sharing reps, even though you're presumably the guy. Dalvin Cook, when he's healthy, he's the guy in his own right. So how does that work? I think that Breece Hall will have a good season, but I think he's probably ranked where he should be because him and Cook are going to share a lot of the reps. With the Broncos, they're going to feature the run. They're going to be a run-first team. They want Russell Wilson to eat off of play-action pass. So if he's healthy going in, I think he's ranked where he should be. I think he's going to give them 1,100, 1,200-yard season.
Just be aware, Samaje Perine is in Denver now. So
you know what? Perine's a good player.
He'll
get opportunities. You're right.
So if Williams falters or can't come back healthy, they'll put Perine back there, and he's a good player.
Look, you know, and I know that Sean Payton has no problem playing running back by committee.
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Gentlemen, just outside the top 10, we have Dameon Pierce and J.K. Dobbins. And then we kick off the top 10 with Najee Harris. Will, how do you feel about Najee being at 10? I thought it was high.
That's really high.
I got a problem with Najee being there because if you go back and look at Jaylen Warren is doing business. He's playing really, really well in the preseason and played and has been playing well. So I got a problem with Najee there. It's like he bogs down the Steelers offense. And I just really see Jaylen Warren in that spot. And J.K. Dobbins, my issue with J.K. Dobbins, why is he number 11? He's always hurt. Go back and look at how many games he's missed. He's always hurt. I would have put Dameon Priest above both those guys, just above available. And he suffered a little injury too last year. But I would put Dameon Pierce over both of them, just over talent and health.
Number 9, Mo, is Tony Pollard. Then we got Jonathan Taylor at 8. Is 8? I know he's coming off an injury, but if you look at what he's done his first few years in the league, is 8 too low for Jonathan Taylor?
I don't think it's too low this season because remember, they're starting Richardson at quarterback. And I got to guarantee you, every team that plays the Colts, they're playing 8 men in the box.
Mm-hmm.
They might even have 9 men in the box because they probably don't think Richardson can beat a one-on-one coverage at all at this stage of his career. And that might be correct. So I think Jonathan Taylor will have a bounce back year, but it's going to be a tough year. Like if he gets you 1,300 yards, my guess is his yards per carry won't be what they normally will be. This is going to be more 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Jonathan Taylor, because of Richardson. Unless Richardson develops during the course of the season and proves that he can make the kind of throws that can make the defense respect him, Jonathan Taylor's he's in for a really physical season. Matter of fact, maybe that's why he wants to trade. He knows what's coming. I get it. That's a smart move. That's a smart move by a running back. No disrespect to Richardson, but if you're Jonathan Taylor at age 24, you play with that rookie quarterback, you're going to age like 2 more years. So that's a really smart move. Get out while you can, Jonathan Taylor.
And don't forget, Marvin Harrison ain't coming through that door. Nope.
No, he's not. Or Reggie Wayne.
Nope. No Reggie Wayne. Nope.
Now, gentlemen, this is going to upset Freddie because he will tell you all day and all night that RB1 in the NFL is Saquon Barkley. But according to MJD, Saquon Barkley is number 6. Will, do you have Saquon outside of your personal top 5? Is he too low here?
I think he's too low. If you look at just that talent alone, I think he's too low. Plus the fact he's going to be used frequently and a lot this season. Brian Daboll is going to use the hell. He's going to get a lot of carries. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. He's going to try to make things a little bit easier for Darren Waller this year, and try to make things a little bit easier for Daniel Jones. Then, despite the fact that Josh Jacobs had a hell of a year last year, I just don't see where Jacobs is as talented as Barkley. So I'm switching those two around, because I think Barkley will get the attempts, will get the carries. The Giants don't have really a wide receiver who you think of prominence right now. And the Raiders do. They have Devontae Adams. So I think Devontae Adams is going to eat a little bit into what Josh Jacobs does this year, assuming they sign him back. But I would move Barkley ahead of Josh Jacobs.
I would too.
And to your point, Will, I mean, the Raiders are going to be a tire fire this year, which means they're going to be down. They're going to be down a lot. When you're down 2 or 3 touchdowns, you're not running the football.
You're going to be throwing.
So I think he'll run the ball a lot in the first quarter. And hopefully they can get out to a lead at some of those games. But once you're chasing 10, 13 points, you're not running the ball anymore. At that point, and I say this lightly, you're airing it out with Jimmy Garoppolo. All right?
Say it lightly,
I say that lightly.
Yes.
But either way, you're not running Jacobs.
And I like Josh Jacobs. I do.
Mo, the rest of the top 5.
What he can't do is he can't do what Saquon can do. Saquon can have 11 carries for 60 yards, and you think you're kind of controlling him, and then the next carry he takes to the house for 60 yards out.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs doesn't have that in him. He's not that kind of guy.
That man is he's talented, he's gifted at the running back position. And I think he should be ahead of shoot. I'll wait to get blasphemous a little bit later as we go through this list. I'll wait.
And the rest, so Jacobs is at 5, and then Mo, the rest of the top 5 was Eckler at 4, Chubb at 3, Henry at 2, and McCaffrey at 1. Will, I see the hand is up. What's the issue?
Here's where I get.
Be careful, Will.
I'm gonna be careful. I like him, but I don't get it. Derrick Henry is 29 years old. Is about to hit 30.
Yes, he is.
At some point during this season, he's gonna break down. He's gonna break down. He's gonna get hurt. I don't see how that team continues to do things with Tannehill at the quarterback spot. I've never been a big Ryan Tannehill fan. To be honest with you guys, because of his age, his opportunities, I would switch Saquon with Derrick Henry. I would take Saquon to move Henry down to 5, because you have a younger player who's going to get just as many opportunities. He's in a better offense, and he has a better quarterback. So I would actually take Barkley number 2 and move Henry down to 5.
I would say, to me, when I look at Derrick Henry, I think Derrick Henry is one of those exceptions to the rule. He's actually a throwback kind of running back. I think that Derrick Henry is going to have a 1,000-yard season at age 29, at age 30, and age 31. Even maybe they won't be prolific like 1,600 yards, but I think he's one of those kind of guys that will age well. And it's unique because he's a contact runner. Most contact runners don't age well. So when you're that big with that kind of speed, but you're a contact runner, he runs through tackles, you usually have a short career. I actually think Derrick Henry is ranked where he should be ranked. As gifted as Saquon is and some of the other guys, we talk about injuries. Yes, Derrick Henry's been banged up a little bit, but Saquon has a history of being banged up as well.
That's true too.
So when I look at the two running backs between Saquon and Derrick Henry's already proven, hand me the ball 300 times and I'm good. I love Saquon. You don't want to give him 300 carries. You don't want to do that.
No. But at the same point, he can do more at the backfield than Henry can do.
Henry's more old school. No argument.
He can do more, and open things up for the offense. He's younger, which is my issue. He's younger because once you hit 29, 30, that's old for a running back.
He's very
So-
similar to Christian McCaffrey to me. I give you that. I think there's some similarities with Saquon and Christian McCaffrey. Saquon might be a better runner. Christian's a better route runner.
Yeah, I agree. But I just had I don't. But if you put him number 5, if you switch him, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Because like I said, I like Saquon's talent. I like his age, and I like his situation a little bit better. Because Daniel Jones is, let's face it, Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill is at this point.
I'm not sure what that means.
He's a better quarterback.
I'm not sure what that means either.
So by being a better quarterback, it's going to open things up more for Saquon to do what he does different than Henry, which is convert more in the passing game.
Let me ask you this, Will. If Daniel Jones has the same exact season as he had last year, will that be better for Saquon? Will it play out? Do you think it'll play out the same way for Saquon?
I look for Daniel to be a little bit better this season than the Dable.
He will need to be better for them to repeat and get into the playoffs. But if he's going to be the same guy as he was last year, they're not going to make the playoffs.
No, but he's going to. But I'm looking at Dable. If you can make Josh Allen better, then to the point where he is now, I think he can do the same with Daniel Jones. I think you'll see Daniel Jones take that one more step.
But isn't Josh Allen a little bit more to work with, though, right?
He's more to work
with.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not knocking Danny Dimes, but isn't Josh Allen a little bit more to work with?
It's a little bit more to work with in terms of a passer and a better overall athlete. But if anybody can get Daniel Jones to that point, it would be Dable.
Okay.
And to look at the other side of it, look what happened to Josh Allen when Dable left. So we saw a peak Josh Allen AFC Championship game toe-to-toe with Mahomes, on the verge of the Super Bowl. Then we see Dable leave, and yeah, Allen still puts up nice numbers, but the mistakes start coming back up, right? That decision-making, that wasn't an issue in that AFC Championship season. He was lights out across the board. Now there's 5 or 6 times last season where you're like, what the hell is he doing? And you have to wonder, the further he gets away from Dable, who definitely reined him in, and you saw he did that with Daniel Jones. He took let's be honest, Daniel Jones' repertoire is not what Josh Allen's is. But he took what he has and what he was good at, and he made it bigger, and he made it work. And now you don't have someone in Buffalo doing that with Josh Allen. And that's why you see Josh Allen running for 800 or 900 yards a season, because Buffalo still has that mindset of, if it's not there, just go run. Just go make it happen, Josh Allen. Be Superman, which we all know how that's going to end up.
Yep.
Gentlemen, do either of you have an issue with number 1 being Christian McCaffrey?
Well, I'm a Niners fan, so I'm biased. I'm good.
I don't have an issue with it because when you look at, I think with everything that he can do, he can run the football, he can catch the football. He's even a decent pass blocker. I don't have a problem with Christian in number 1.
And he's not just a running back that's good out the backfield. Like, he runs routes the way Marshall Faulk used to run routes. Like, you can put him out wide and he can actually run routes. Like, he's that lethal a weapon. So there might be guys that are as good runners as he is, but as a total package, Christian McCaffrey is a bad man. He's a bad man.
He is a bad man because also, to Will's point, he may not be the best pass blocker, but he will sacrifice his whole entire sacrifice his whole entire body. You don't see defensive players blow past McCaffrey. Now, if they get the best of him, he's going for a ride. His body's taking a hit and he's being dragged with them. But you see so many backs in the league where it's like they're not even there. Like they either get knocked down or just blown by. McCaffrey.
They make business decisions. That's what they do.
Correct.
Yep. He's in a good spot. Christian McCaffrey's in a good spot right now. The 49ers, they're going to compete for a while.
The list, I didn't agree with all the lists, but I think Jones Drew did pretty good this year. This is not bad. I've seen some of his lists in the past that were suspect at a minimum. This one was pretty good.
He did have Josh Jacobs 28th on his list last year, I believe. So
yeah, he did a whole lot based off of one season.
One season, and he's not even haven't reported to camp yet. They ain't even signed that man back yet.
Yep, but he's up to the top 5 according to MJD. So
that Raiders front office is garbage. Straight garbage.
It has been a great morning here on the morning show. I appreciate both you being here. Will, tell everyone where they can find you when you're not here hanging out with us.
Man, you can catch me over on the Sports Report page on Facebook. Mondays we talk sports. On Sports Report Tuesday, Sports Report Fight Night, we talk everything in the world of pro wrestling. On Thursday nights, you can find me over From the Sidelines podcast doing player versus team, me and Zamora getting out talking about the NBA. And then Saturday night, you Geek Gauntlet podcast, my main show, talk everything in the world of geek, comics, anime, video games. We got a comics guy now, so definitely check us out on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. over on Facebook on the Geek Gauntlet page.
He just answered a great question for me because I was going to ask Will, like on the Geek Gauntlet, do you talk about other things other than anime? Do you get into movies and things like that? And now I realize you cover everything, Will. I think I've tuned in before. I'm going to start tuning back in again because it's always an interesting show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Will, I saw a stat this morning that really upset me. In 2023, The Miz is 1-33 in televised matches. All the man does these days is just put talent over. And I think his one win was a disqualification or something. I'm a Miz guy.
The Miz is a great hand, and if you look at everything he's done with a slew of other wrestlers, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. He will be. Sure. He will be.
Mo, the last 15 seconds belong to you, sir. Take us home.
Everybody that's in the chat, we appreciate you. Thank you for showing out. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. We will be back tomorrow with more Coffee Sports in the Morning. Check out our other programs on Empire Sports Network. Check out the Empire.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Until we meet again.
Later. Peace,